Welcome back, team. I'm Dr. Small, Executive Director of A Stronger Foundation. Welcome back to our lab. Now, I have our little friends here again. I wanted to finish up what we were talking about before about managing ourselves, right? And children have to learn to do that too, as we're talking about succeeding in life. And our definition of success means that the whole system is properly operating. Okay, presently, 98% of people never fulfill their dreams. They never achieve greatness. Okay, and it have a lot to do with they weren't aligned with their greatness. Point blank. Okay. I keep telling you that I'm going to be talking about the art of education and how the destination is what determines this 98%, because of the destination. That's where we were aligned to. But I'll get there. I wanted to finish up our thought on the different sides of ourselves. Every one of us have multiple sides. We have a lethargic side and we have a disciplined side. All right. And I wanted to discuss again what we said about them. Okay. This is both sides ain't going to be out at the same time, because you'd really, really be quite a nut if you can somehow have both sides out at the same time. Okay. I get some thoughts sometime. I just have to laugh. So the lethargic side is the regular side of every person. It's a side that we have to fight against in order to achieve our best self. Our best self is the disciplined self. But this disciplined self will have to beg permission to come out. This side don't want the disciplined side out, because the disciplined side likes to do too much. This is one doing the most. Oh, maybe we should try to make it better. Or why don't we go ahead and write a second version of this? Why don't we edit the document? And this side is like, listen, I'm telling you, that's what it always says. It just said, listen, you need to relax. You need to chill out. Okay? Because whether or not you put another touch on it, it's going to neither here or there. Just so indifferent, right? And so what I've said is that this side is a side that's always out, and it is aligned with the entropic principles of life. The part that says there's randomness, it's the natural randomness in a system, the natural disorder in a system for things to fall apart. All right. Sometimes I give you example. Let me give you some more. This is the side that requires no effort and no work. Entropy side, no effort, no work for you to just become mediocre. Okay. If you do nothing, you're going to align with mediocrity. If you do nothing. Okay. This is the side where if you don't take a shower, then you eventually begin to smell, right? Because there's no effort required, and because it's a natural disorder. This side is not the side where you're going to naturally just smell great. No, because this side has a tendency to fall apart, to fall off. This is the part where if you don't put food in your body, or if you don't take liquids in like water, you're going to become dehydrated. You're going to get sick. If you don't, things fall apart. If you don't do this, that's going to fall apart. That's my point. And I keep developing these ideas and theories so that eventually at some point, I'm going to be sitting on a nice couch and talking, and then you're going to be able just to follow along with everything. But this side of us is the 98%. 98% of people align with this. Because I'm going to tell you, even though I'm the one that's preaching to you, everyone has to go through this. So 98% of people fall victim here, because this side takes a lot of energy, it takes work, and you have to keep a conscious effort to keep it out. We'll talk about it. To keep this side out. You ask any of those people who are in the 2%, right? I'm not going to tell you to ask me. I know I'm on my way, but when I say that, I'm thinking about people that have succeeded well, not just being rich. Because you see in Hollywood how many people are just doing off themselves because they're unhappy. They get all this money, but no peace. So to keep this guy out, you got to apply effort. This is not the entropic version. This is the side that every morning they manage themselves. Okay? This is the disciplined version. This version must be summoned. Okay? This one's always there. This is the one that's going to eat that extra piece of cake because it just feels right. Right? Anything that feels right, the amygdala, emotion. That's why you have emotional eaters, because it feels right. Right? And that's why you have people that take advantage of certain situations if it feels right. Okay? Supposed to exercise every day. Do we exercise every day? Sitting on the couch just feels right. Okay? We're tired, we're exhausted. So this person's tired and exhausted too, because it's the same person. But this one says, listen, you got to learn to have a conversation with your head, with yourself. That brings me finally. Okay, I hope I said everything I needed to say here. All right. I wanted to say that this person, this side of you, is at the mercy of this side. Yes. This one has to say, please let me out. This one's like, no, man, no. The exercise gonna burn. That's the burn. That hard exercise work, that's crazy stuff, man. You're doing the most. You know what I'm saying? Just get up. Okay, fine. We can get up and just walk to the refrigerator. That's good enough. And you're like, but that's not going to give me the abs that I want. It's not going to give me those muscle tone that I want. Say, listen, be all right. Flabs are okay too. Flabs are cool. In fact, why don't you start a trend that'd be flabby? That's funny. All right. The flab trend. So yeah. So, it's at the mercy. This is at the mercy of your lethargic side. Okay. So your lethargic side is a slave to entropy. Your lethargic side is a slave to entropy. All right. It's almost like, just imagine entropy as like a hovering influence, and it just sits on top, just sits on top of yourself. It's like, I can't be bothered. Oh, it takes too much energy. Oh, it takes too much time. So I hope you get it, because I'm hammering it over and over because I want you to understand what this means. This is the one that aligns with 98% of the people that don't achieve their dreams. A lot of time it's just because they're lethargic. Now, sometimes we just miss it. We're trying, and because it's not easy, it's hard. This is hard to stay out. So I'm not being cursing the people who don't achieve and fulfill their dream. It don't mean that they're not trying. It just means that sometimes it's really hard to overpower this little guy, because this guy is the natural side of us. It's the side that we are without trying to do good, without trying to be better. If you don't better yourself, then you feel a weird sense of peace for a while. But at some point, you start to hear calling, because see, you're not supposed to stay this way. You're designed for greatness. You're designed to fulfill a purpose. And this side is like, we're okay not fulfilling that purpose. But there's another side. This side is the one that hears the cry, and it keeps saying, come up, come on, come on. Right? But it's constantly fighting with this side, trying to drag it out of bed. So when the alarm get up, he's like, come on, let's go. The alarm's up. He's like, lay down, relax, you're doing the most. He said, but please, come on, I want to get going. I want to, right? And it's a slave to lethargy, right? This side here. And then I say that to entropy. And this side, though, is a slave to this side. And all I mean by that is that this side doesn't just naturally stay out. This side seems to be stronger. This one seems to have all kind of power and muscle. I'm speaking from experience when I tell you, I've gone through so much just to get to the point where I'm able to be more disciplined. It's hard. I used to try to be two different selves. I used to try to pretend, okay, I'm going to tell you the truth here. Sometimes this gets a little embarrassing, but I literally, in the morning when the alarm would go off, it's almost like this side of me would get up. I mean, we're still in bed. I'm telling you, this is some crazy stuff I'm about to tell you. We're laying in bed, and this side would stand up, and it would look at the lethargic self, and it says, please, we're joined. I need you to get up. Please get up. And this one would say, sit down, start kicking the leg. Like, will you just, I say, please get up, please. Even start to grab its foot and pull it up and say, please, come on, pull on. And a lot of times I have to tell you what happened, because this little guy wouldn't get up. He just had to lay back down because we lost the battle. And they both just laid back down, back in the bed. And day after day, morning after morning, sometimes you're sitting there crying. You're like, please, you're begging the lethargic side to get up, and it won't get up. So for me to be where I am, it took a lot to get there, okay? Because what you need to do is you got to get this side up. All right, because this side seems to be stronger. It seems to be in control. So people in the 2% are those that are able to win that battle. In the morning, they get up, and somehow, because of their mindset, they don't compromise. They say, you better get up right now. Get up. Drag center, go. Let's go. And then that's it. So only way to control the lethargic side and for this side is to win mindset. And that's what that 2% have. All right. That's what they have. That's the difference. When you think about people, sometimes we think that movie stars have a life that's easy and glamorous. But I mean, when they have to study those lines, they have to get up early in the morning. That can't be easy either. A lot of times they're working late at nights, and they're expected to get up and smile and stay in role. And, that can't be easy. So yeah, they're very disciplined, very disciplined. Okay. So let's go. Now let's apply all of that to how to manage ourselves in order to succeed. Because in order to succeed and become your best self, you have to be able to wear this mask the majority of the time. You have to succeed. Now, if you're in the NBA or anything else, back me up. If you play basketball, if you're a dancer, a swimmer, if you're an athlete, whatever you are, back me up. Tell the people you have to remain disciplined in order to achieve the greatness that you have. It's not by luck, but you get that medal star that at the Olympics, you won the Olympic gold medal. That was not chance, right? That took a lot of effort. That takes a lot of what I just talked about. So I'm not going to dig back into it. So how do we do this as children, students? How do we get them? How do we train them? How do we get them to be disciplined? Because see, what you want is academic integrity. How do you get them to do that? Well, we teach them, because discipline side don't need, you're disciplined, when you're disciplined, you got it. But since there's two sides of you, you need to transfer this side to be more like this side. And how do you do it? All right, you're probably going to laugh at me here, but let me show you how. You have to reprogram the mind. Okay, come on. Oh, sorry. Hold on, let me put it on, guys. You got to reprogram the mind. And how do you do that? You got to wear some headphones. I think it's okay. You got to program the mind. So if that means that you're going to listen to motivational tape every day, not just every day, just put it on in your car, because you got to keep this side motivated. Motivation is fleeting, but motivation in its best form, it's incredible, isn't it? That's what gets you up. Woo, let's go. We're going to conquer something today, right? You can't let that feeling wear off. Okay? This is what these people do all day long. They have to find a way to keep themselves motivated all day because motivation comes and it goes. So when it goes, what keeps them motivated? You have to reprogram your mind. You got to have that mindset that you're constantly telling yourself, this is what we're going to do. You're speaking to your amygdala and saying, oh, this is what's happening. Oh, no, we're not afraid. Oh, no, we're not going to let fear conquer us. Okay, let me put these guys down so we can continue to have this conversation. And we'll go over here and keep talking about them. Okay, let's keep talking about them. Here they are. Good. And so we have to continue all day long to change our recording, our internal speech and conversation, right? Remember, what you say is what you are. What you say is what you are. This is our mentor text. This is what we work with our children. It's a mentor text, so it introduced the concept of speaking positive affirmation before you turn 45 years old and 50 years old. Okay, they need to understand what purpose, the purpose concept at a very young age. They don't need to hear it one time and then they just never hear it again, or they're hearing it once every year when the school decides to do character counts activity. No, sir. No, they need to hear it all the time. We have a mentor text and we have an activity guide where we have them walk through and practice success skills, right? That's the only way to succeed is by practicing success skills. That's all. Nothing more to it. If you don't practice success skills, it just happens by chance. Now, I can tell you that some people do poorly in school, and again, because they had mindset, then they end up thriving way ahead other people that graduated at the top 5% in their class. All right, you can order a copy, a set on Amazon when you're ready. Or you could order it and then you can sign up for one of our coaching sessions where sometimes we have 12 kids in a group, a cohort, and we walk through it together with them. It's really cool because we do certain activities also that teaches them and like explicitly how success works. Like, how do you succeed at a skill? You know, we teach them, we say, believe it, speak it, practice it, and you will achieve it. Believe it, speak it, practice it, and you'll achieve it. That's what we teach them. So we take them through certain skills where they develop those skills from the remembering stage to the mastery stage. And all we say to them is, how'd you learn that skill? Did you learn it because you said, I want to learn how to skateboard? And then you just got on and then you just learned? No. You had to practice. You got to practice those skills. And so we teach them from their young so that they don't grow up and graduate from high school, guys. And they're like, okay, how do I succeed? Let me look back at what I've done. I never did my homework, or I did just enough homework. I didn't read any book to broaden my understanding and my knowledge. I didn't develop any particular skills. Okay, so is that what it takes to succeed in life? No. What we've done is teach them the unsuccessful skills. Because parents like to say, oh, I don't have the money to train them right now, or just let the kids be kids. But I'm like, yeah, you may not be training them to succeed, but by not training them to succeed, you're training them to fail. Hello, Benjamin Franklin. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. So those of us that like to say, oh, I didn't get that job, I know why I didn't get that job. It's not because I didn't prepare for the job. It's because I did prepare for the job. I did everything. I stayed up late at night. I stayed up heights by great men reached and kept while my companions slept. I stayed up and I pushed and I didn't get the, let's be honest. So by failing to prepare, you prepared to be passed up for that promotion, if we're honest, in a lot of cases that I'm talking about. Okay, obviously, if it's a different situation, you know a different situation. Okay, sometimes things in life are unfair, but we're talking about in general. And for the most part, usually people are just not prepared for a promotion. And so it passes by them and then they blame everything else instead of just saying, let me train, let me be better, or better yet, let me become an entrepreneur. Because if that's your passionate skill, if it's not just a job or a career, then, why not just find your purpose in life and build that? All right. So where were we now? All right. So, yeah, they have to learn how to believe it, speak it, and practice it so that they can achieve it. Okay. So let's go back over to our two guys. You got to learn how to keep this guy motivated so that the discipline side can take the lead. And it challenges. I told you before, the discipline side, the reason why, if you're trying to, go to the gym, why it's so hard to get up at that 5 a.m. and keep your commitment to go to the gym. Why is it so hard? Because you're fighting against the amygdala. Because the amygdala, when you get up, don't forget the hypothalamus, its job is to maintain balance, okay, in your system. So when the amygdala starts to cry and say, hey, 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 what's happening here, man? I need 4 more hours. I'm supposed to sleep until 9 a.m. That's what is owed to me. It's not 9 a.m. It's 5 a.m. I need 4 more hours, right? 5 to 9. I need my 4 more hours of sleep. And it starts to cry and whine and carry on, which disturbs your hypothalamus. Because remember, its function is to monitor all the systems and make sure there is homeostasis and there's equilibrium, there's balance. And when your amygdala starts to act up, it wakes up your hypothalamus and it's trying to fix it. And the way it tries to fix it, it says, listen, can't we all just get along? Oh, wait a minute. I have a topic like that. Can't we just get along? Can we have a compromise? Okay. Here's how the compromise go. Mr. Lethargic is going to say, okay, fine. Let me sleep 4 hours and 55 more minutes, and then you can have the other 5 minutes. That's not fair, is it? That's not fair. But that's the suggestion, right? And the hypothalamus is like, okay, discipline side, are you okay with that? Discipline's like, no way am I okay with that. That's preposterous. He needs to get up and stop holding me back in life. And so the hypothalamus got to keep going back. How about an hour? How about if you take 1 more hour and then you guys leave home at 6 instead of 5? Discipline side's like, I'm not cool with that either. But again, who's stronger? The lethargic side is stronger. So you know who's going to win. You probably won't even get that an hour at the gym. You probably end up getting no time at the gym. But remember, now we've passed that point. The lethargic side now has the headphone. And what's playing in the headphones are 4 short phrases. I can, I will, I believe, I am. I can, I will, I believe, I am. I can, I will, I believe, I am. And that's what keeps playing. And so the lethargic side, it's like, oh, that sounds good. I can, I will, I believe, I am. Break it down now. Right? And so that's what gets them to work together as a team. That's how you keep the lethargic side cooperating. I'm not going to tell you that the lethargic side ever gives up its personality. The lethargic side is never, ever going to become disciplined, but sometimes it can work with the disciplined side when it is suited by positive affirmations. All right. Okay. So where are we? Where are we? We were talking about managing ourselves so that we can succeed. So at present now, you have teachers that's constantly trying to convince a child to do well. They do work so you can succeed. The child don't understand none of that stuff. They don't get it. They just feel like they're going to grow up and they're going to succeed no matter what. They don't understand that success requires certain steps and it requires preparation. They don't get that. And as a parent, what's happening with our children is they're not necessarily able to do this on their own. And I have to tell you right now, the school system don't teach this. Because see, they're on a conveyor belt. They are. That's how life is. And that's why you get older every year. You never get off of your conveyor belt. You remember what it is at the airport. You step on it and it just take you where you're going. That's what a conveyor belt does. You don't have to take one step to get to the next side where it ends. And while you're on that conveyor belt, you're turning 14, you're turning 15, and you're turning 16. I remember when my child was 7 years old, but they keep moving. And while they're moving, you got to plant certain seeds, right? If you want them to truly succeed, you have to do that. So you have to teach your child how to manage themselves. Okay, remember, sometimes I hear my own thoughts that people might be thinking, and you might be saying, oh my God, they're kids. Are you kidding me? But this is more natural than you can ever imagine with children. Of course, we don't go in there and use certain words to a child. You don't. You have to trick them into success. You have to trick them into succeeding because they don't understand that's the only way they're going to thrive as adults. All right. It's not fair to allow them to just go through life and school not understanding that the seeds they're planting now are going to grow. So if they're planting mediocre seeds, then that's what's going to grow and that's what they're going to align with. All right. I feel like I'm just about at the end here. We talked about managing the self. Okay. I don't remember what the title of this podcast was, but we talked about self-management, and that's a big step in becoming a successful child, having a successful childhood. And it's okay. They balance out just perfectly. They have the most fun. They have the most fun because they get to live out their full childhood, and then they get to experience a fulfilling life, right? That's what's ethical. Allowing a child to grow up unprepared to succeed, that should be a crime. It should be a misdemeanor. So I feel like if we went out of our ways to have kids, we wanted to have kids. So if you're going to have a child, why would you have a child and then allow that child to fail? I don't get it. What was the purpose of that child? You can't, it's not fair to just have kids so that they could be a companion to you. They're cute. They're like a little mini you. Did you align with your greatness? Did you become the best version of yourself? Or are you one of those people that just said, that's over, what's they call it? That's overemphasized. Just be who you are. Who you are is who you are. Right? But we know that's not true. You're born to fulfill a purpose. You're born to fit in a certain space in a big puzzle of this world. This whole world is a big puzzle. And for it to be complete, everyone has a place. And if you haven't finished being shaped, because remember how this thing works, my friends, gold, right? Doesn't it go a lot of pressure to help it to be come forth as pure gold? Goes through, has to go through the fire. Okay, and if you haven't fulfilled your purpose, okay, maybe that's what's causing you to look at your child and think, oh, they're okay. I mean, they're not going to die. They'll be all right. But nothing worse than a mental death, right? Nothing worse when you're alive, you're physically alive, but you're not aligned. When you're out of your system is out of alignment, trust me, you can't even pretend. That's why there's so much anger. A lot of people are angry, like forget them, forget them. Only think about you. God bless you and nobody else. Or God bless my family and no one else. Right? We start to have to be selfish, when we are not aligned. So I think we did it. I have to remember sometimes it's okay to give you a break and give you a short episode. And I think this one is 30 minutes, so that's not so bad. All right, we're going to move on because we got to come back. And I believe we're going to come back with our series now that our guys have learned how to work together with their multiple selves. We can move on. You have done so great. You understand how the limbic system impacts the frontal lobe learning area. That's the area that learns. And you understand that concentration is difficult when the system is out of balance. When the system is out of balance and the hypothalamus begins to search, and when it begins to monitor all the internal systems to maintain the normal states of homeostasis, for it to control the release of various hormones, okay, as it's moderating numerous body function, all of that it's trying to do, then concentration cannot happen. Your child is not going to learn. You're going to teach. And listen, if they're not learning, another concept that we're going to introduce very soon is called the novelty-seeking brain. So don't just think that not because they're not learning, something is happening, because the brain don't waste time. It's always got to be crunching something. Okay? So, all right, checking the microphone. Make sure that you understand that it's always doing something. The novelty seeking brain is that the brain always needs something. It has an affinity for new stimulus, new exciting stimulus. Okay. And that's why it's hard to focus. So anything new, like if a fire truck goes by, all of a sudden you stop. Learning stops temporarily because your brain's like, what was that? What was that? What was that? All right, so we'll develop that. I'm not gonna drive down into the novelty seeking brain right now. That would be crazy. All right, that's a whole new episode. So we'll talk about that. Okay, we're coming back with a nice series. All right, so thank you so much for joining me today in our lab. We're so excited for all that's happening. So I'll talk to you soon. Make sure you come back. All right, while we're away, remember, keep bettering yourself, keep thriving to be the best version of yourself. All right, where you'll have peace, fulfillment, and meaning in life. Talk to you soon.